Britain has committed to reaching net zero. Cleaner air, lower energy bills, green jobs, a greener future. That's the promise. But here's something that doesn't add up. If net zero is meant to make energy cheaper, why are UK households still paying some of the highest bills in Europe? Why are factories warning they may shut down? And why do deadlines quietly keep shifting without much public discussion? Today, I'm not here to argue for or against net zero. I'm here to show you the hidden costs nobody's explaining upfront. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why the price tag of net zero may matter just as much as the climate target itself. Legally, Britain has committed to reaching net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. On paper, it sounds ideal. Wind and solar powering our homes, electric cars replacing petrol, new green industries creating jobs, Britain leading the world on climate action. Politicians often describe it as a win-win, good for the planet and good for the economy. And most people support that idea. But here's the question we rarely stop to ask. What does it actually take to run a modern country this way? Not emotionally, not morally, but physically and economically. Because building wind turbines is one thing. Keeping hospitals, homes, and factories running every hour of every day is something else entirely. This is where the first hidden cost appears. Britain's electricity grid was built for predictable power, coal, gas, nuclear. Net zero replaces that with intermittent power, mainly wind and solar. That changes everything. When the wind doesn't blow, when the sun doesn't shine, the system still needs electricity. So what does that mean in practice? It means massive grid upgrades. To connect the huge expansion of offshore and onshore wind planned by 2030, National Grid is rebuilding large parts of the network. Over 1,000 new pylons, hundreds of kilometers of high-voltage lines, new substations across the country. These upgrades are described as essential for net zero. But here's the key detail most people miss. They're paid for through your energy bill. Transmission charges already make up about 10% of household bills, and regulators expect them to roughly double by the early 2030s. So even before a single unit of electricity reaches your home, you're paying for the system behind it, and nobody sent you an invoice to approve it. There's another issue. Sometimes wind farms produce too much electricity. In recent years, around 10% of UK wind power was actually paid to switch off because the grid couldn't handle it. That alone cost hundreds of millions of pounds. At the same time, we still need backup power. On cold, calm winter days, known as Dunkelflautes, wind output can collapse. In those moments, gas plants and imports still supply most of Britain's electricity. Even official forecasts admit gas remains a vital strategic backup. So net zero isn't just about renewables. It's about running two systems at once. One green, one on standby. And you're paying to maintain both. Now let's talk about what this means for you. Meet Sarah, a nurse in Manchester. Single mum, 2 kids, modest income. Her energy bill used to be around £80 a month. Now it's closer to £180, and that's after prices came down from the peak. She didn't use more energy, the grid just got more expensive to run. Energy bills didn't rise only because of global gas prices. Even after wholesale prices fell, UK bills stayed much higher than before 2022. Why? Because today, a growing share of your bill isn't for energy itself. It's for grid reinforcement, renewable subsidies, balancing the system, network charges. For many businesses, over 60% of their energy bill is now made up of these non-energy costs. Renewable electricity can be cheap to generate, but expensive to deliver reliably, and those extra costs don't disappear. They're quietly spread across millions of households like Sarah's. So here's the thinking moment. If net zero is meant to make energy cheaper in the long run, how long is the long run? And can families afford the wait? Now zoom out. High energy prices don't just affect homes. They hit industries like steel, chemicals, cement, manufacturing, sectors that can't simply go green overnight. British manufacturers now face some of the highest industrial energy prices in the developed world, often up to 50% higher than competitors in France or Germany. Companies are left with 3 choices: absorb the cost, shut down production, or move abroad. Many are choosing the third. Take Tata Steel in Port Talbot. Thousands of jobs at risk. Not because the company doesn't want to decarbonize, but because doing it in Britain is financially unviable compared to doing it elsewhere. This creates a problem called carbon leakage. Emissions don't disappear, jobs don't disappear, they just leave Britain. The steel still gets made, probably in China or India, with higher emissions and lower standards. The jobs still exist, just not here. So ask yourself, are we reducing global emissions, or just offshoring them with a clear conscience? Because if the answer is the second one, we're not solving climate change. We're just moving the pollution off our balance sheet. there's another hidden cost: the taxpayer. Many green projects rely on long-term guarantees. If costs overrun, if output disappoints, the public often absorbs the loss. New nuclear plants alone are expected to add around £2 billion a year to household bills through long-term pricing agreements. Past renewable subsidy schemes are already costing taxpayers tens of billions of pounds. Even failed energy suppliers were ultimately paid for by consumers. Net zero isn't free, it's prepaid through bills, levies, and taxes. The question is whether we're being told the full price up front. So what's the real debate? It's not, should Britain go green? It's, how fast can we afford to? And who pays the price along the way? Move too slowly, and climate targets slip. Move too fast, and you risk job losses, higher bills, and public backlash. Even climate advisors now say electricity must become cheaper for the transition to be fair. This isn't green versus anti-green. It's about realism, because ambition without realism doesn't create progress. It creates instability, and instability, economic, industrial, social, costs more than any carbon target ever could.
Here's what I want you to take away. The cost of net zero isn't on a government spreadsheet.
It's in the factory closing in Port Talbot. It's in the emissions relocating to countries with no net zero plan at all.
So here's my question for you. If this transition costs more and takes longer than we're being told, shouldn't we at least be honest about it? Let me know what you think.